Welcome back to the Morgan Streetman Show. Now's about the time that we go out there, but we're just going to go out there with more nuances to the Robert Mueller report. And now that we've seen that President Trump has been exonerated, there was no collusion, what happens next?
Well, don't you think that this deserves the Out There segment after 2 years of this witch hunt? I mean, can it be much more out there that, as Peter Strzok said he was worried about from the get-go, there's no there there. There's no there. Not a little bit of there. Not a moderate amount of there. No nothing. There. There's nothing. We got nothing out of this. There's no evidence. In fact, the report, as summarized by Attorney General Barr, went so far as to say that there were efforts by the Russians to reach out to the Trump campaign and that the campaign didn't accept the offers of help. They didn't respond to them. So, I mean, there is no there. And it is absolutely amazing to me. And folks, what I hope you'll do is I hope you'll go back, particularly if you're one of those people who believes this whole, witch hunt, the basis for the witch hunt, believes what we've been being told by all the mainstream media outlets for the last 2 years. Because really, my question to you, is it possible? I mean, this might be one of the most out there things ever, the idea that they all got it so wrong for so long. They all got it so wrong for so long. There was nothing there, as we now know. The conclusion is there was nothing there. But we've been being told for 2 years by what are apparently respected news institutions, the likes of Slate Magazine, Politico, dare I mention CNN, MSNBC. I mean, Rachel Madcow every night has been on talking about everything that we were going to learn about the horrible Russian conspiracy, and she had all these details that she'd cooked up and made up in her own mind, none of which have turned out to be true. There are no sealed indictments building up anywhere. There's nothing left. And you might say, well, we have not heard about that. Well, read the letter. I mean, it's only 4 pages. Read William Barr's letter. He specifically says in there's no sealed indictments. That's it. This is over with. There are no more indictments. Well, yeah, but Mueller indicted a bunch of people. Yeah, he indicted them just about all for stuff that didn't have anything to do with Russian conspiracy or collusion, right? Not a one of them was indicted for Russian conspiracy, except for the people who weren't going to show up because they're Russian nationals, and they're not coming to the U.S. for some trial. What, so we can convict them in basically a kangaroo court or something? I mean, they're not stupid. They're not going to come over here for that. Just like we wouldn't go to Russia if somebody charged you in Russia with Pat George for running a troll farm. You wouldn't go to Russia.
No, absolutely not.
So they're not coming here.
For any reason.
So when they indict those guys, they know they're never going to show up, and that's what's called in the law a default. And that's what they're expecting. They want to win by default, and that's why they did it. And remember, when those folks, some of them actually did get a lawyer and showed up and said, hey, we're ready for trial. And the special counsel's office had to say, oh, we're not ready for trial. Because they didn't actually think people were going to show up and defend themselves in court. But it's so unbelievable to me that the mainstream media and like 201, every single outlet, I don't think anybody was telling you the truth, folks. They all had, remember all these stories from experts say, and sources well placed in the investigation suggest indictments may be coming soon for Trump, members of the Trump organization, his family. Remember all this stuff? I mean, if you don't remember it and you're on Twitter, go find me on Twitter. I'm at Mo Streetman. And you can look at all of the tweets because I spent a couple of hours yesterday. I just typed in the search box, Indict Trump. And I just started scrolling back through. And the ones where people were saying, this is what I've heard from confidential sources, or I can now confirm that there are sealed indictments of President Trump and his family just waiting for the Mueller, blah, 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 blah. And I would actually take those and retweet them and then ask the people questions. Now, what do they commonly do? Yeah, I know. I actually got one of them responded
Did you really?
to me.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
One of them took me at face value and responded. Almost everybody else just blocked me and either deleted their tweets. I think they deleted their tweets.
And so you're talking about people in the media, generally
I'm talking
speaking.
about both media people and just normal people on Twitter. I was kind of I was equal opportunity last night when I was willing to offend people. Congress people, everybody. Anybody that I could find who was saying, I have some secret knowledge or this is what's about to happen. And of course, these statements go back. It was funny to me because I realized they were talking about this in like February of 2017, like within 10 days of the man being inaugurated president. They were already talking about him being indicted for something or another. And it's funny because you can actually see how they tried a few different things before they finally hit on something that would stick, which is this, he did something wrong by getting rid of James Comey, and that probably had to do with him trying to cover up the fact that he was a Russian agent. I mean, we've actually had, I believe it was Malcolm Nance. It may have been somebody else. Malcolm Nance has said enough, though, that I feel confident in just calling him out on it because of many of the things that he said over the past 2 years. But we had people like Malcolm Nance, these bellicose commentators that MSNBC would have on who would just say pretty much whatever they could make up, whatever they could pull out of that place where the sun don't
bellicose,
shine.
Bellicose, aggressive.
Yeah.
I know what that means.
SAT test later. These folks, they would just get on there and they would say things like Trump is a Russian agent or Trump is, best friends with Vladimir Putin. None of this turned out to be true. And my question is, when do we stop believing them? When do we just put this now? We need to remember this, folks, because this ain't the first time this has happened. This is not the first time we've been lied to, but this is one of the times where they've lied and they tried to overwhelm the truth by more lies. So remember that old phrase, a lie told often enough becomes the truth? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of an old maxim of propaganda, right? They say it came from Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi. But if you just keep repeating something enough, even if it's false, people will eventually believe it. And that's what's happened here because we've had 2 years of a constant repetition of falsehoods that President Donald Trump had done some kind of a conspiracy or collusion with Russia to affect our elections and undermine our democracy. We've heard that for 2 years. Heck, the Washington Post even changed its slogan, right? Changed its slogan and said, democracy dies in darkness. I mean, see, that's how serious what we've been dealing with is, folks. This was an attack on our very institutions, on our democracy, on what it means to be an American. No, that was all lies. That was all false. And you know what's really disgusting? Is that unless they're idiots, and a lot of them are idiots in the media, but not all of them. Some of them were smart enough to know what they were doing. They were smart enough to know that they hadn't looked into anything. They were smart enough to know that they didn't have evidence of anything. They didn't have anything, but they told you the lies anyway, and they knew what they were doing. And folks, I'll tell you what, I'll never trust the media again, and I hope that you won't either. And we need to remember this for the future. We need to remember how they lied to us over and over and over again. I'm Morgan Streetman, and that's the way I see it.
Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And don't forget to exercise your brain at least once a week.